While I know everyone here is an incredible advocate and fan of Julian Assange, one of the biggest advocates for Julian Assange has got to be his brother, Gabriel Shipton. Please welcome him to the stage.
Hello everyone, hello Washington. Wow, what a day, huh? It must be nice under those trees in some shade. Feel bad for anyone who has to stand in the sun. Look, first off, I want to thank the organisers, Nick and Angela, and everyone else who's working hard behind the scenes to make this happen. So much work goes into pulling these events together, and all credit to them for pulling this one off. My name, as Angela said, my name is Gabriel Shipton, and I'm here not just as an advocate for peace, but also as the brother of one of the war machine's greatest enemies, Wikileaks founder Julian Assange. You know, one of Julian's quotes, this goes back to when it was the very early days of when he founded Wikileaks, and he put out a white paper called Conspiracy of Governance, and one of the quotes that he led that white paper with was from Teddy Roosevelt, and it's from over a century ago, and it says, "To destroy the invisible government, to befoul an unholy alliance between corrupt business and corrupt politics is the first task of statesmanship." And I think we can all agree that not many of our leaders these days agree with that quote as their first task of statesmanship. But 100 years later, Julian accepted Roosevelt's call and developed what he called the intelligence agency of the people, an uncensorable website with 100% record of accuracy that brought us original source documents from inside corrupt business and corrupt governments from all around the world. You've got to imagine our government as an iceberg. The tip, the only part visible that we can see, is made up of the public statements and the state propaganda. But beneath the water, out of sight, lies the vast mass of vested interest profiteers that drive us into these endless wars against our own interest. Julian exposed those interests, and for that, he was punished. Julian called it scientific journalism, providing access to original source documents on WikiLeaks empowered us to see through propaganda and understand the true goal, not winnable, but endless wars that would allow a transnational security elite to wash our tax dollars in blood and line their own pockets. There isn't a place on earth that hasn't been touched by Julian's secrecy-busting machine. You can point to any place on the globe and there will be a document on WikiLeaks that will tell you what is really going on there. And now I want to give you an example of the power of this machine, the power of these original source documents, what they can actually do. They can actually bring about the end of a war. One single document, a cable from the US Embassy in Iraq back to the State Department here in Washington, DC. A cable that described how a group of soldiers went into a house and killed an Iraqi family, killed the children in the house, killed the grandparents, the fathers, the mothers in that house, and then called in an airstrike to destroy the evidence of their killing. The Iraqi government found out about this through the WikiLeaks cable, and that government summoned up all their power. They were very weak at the time because they'd been ravaged by this war that had been going on for many years, and they were able to summon up their power using this cable and refuse to renew the status of forces agreement, which eventually led to the Obama administration withdrawing the majority of the troops from Iraq. So that is the actual impact that a single leaked document can have to end a war. But Julian sacrificed so much to bring us these truths. He was detained for 14 years in the United Kingdom, 7 years in a tiny apartment, the Ecuadorian embassy in the centre of London, 5 years in a maximum security prison, enduring essentially what is solitary confinement in his cell, to 2 by 3 metre cell, 22 hours a day, for years and years on end. Countless smears in the media, this kind of psychological torture that was levelled against him to punish him, to make an example of him, to say to everybody else that if you expose these kind of things, if you expose these secrets, this will what happened to you. And in 2017, I think this is very relevant, because in 2017 what we saw was a speech by then CIA, the new CIA director, Mike Pompeo. And in his first public speech, he declared a fatwa against Julian and Wikileaks. And it was at that point that we saw Julian's refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy became a black site in the centre of London. Every single move that Julian made within that embassy was recorded on digital cameras, digital recordings of meetings, sound recordings, and all these recordings were sent back to headquarters every 15 days. Later on, we would go on to find out that there were plots within the CIA, plots and sketches drawn up to assassinate Julian, and also a plot to kidnap Julian from the Ecuadorian embassy. And that plot eventually took place with the legal cover given by the Department of Justice, a weaponized Department of Justice. But just a couple of months ago, Julian there is good news. Don't worry, there's good news. Just a couple of months ago, Julian was freed, so yeah. And I got to sleep on his couch for the first time, so that was pretty nice to be able to go to my older brother's house and sleep on his couch. I've been so used to traveling around the world advocating him, and now he's been able to give me a place to rest. So that was a pretty nice moment to see him and his 2 little boys back together again, just enjoying family and an end to his suffering, which is very relieving for our family. But it was through a global effort, a global grassroots effort of activism that led to his eventual freedom. Hundreds of thousands of people like you, all you people here today, around the world advocating with their elected representatives, signing petitions, donating, taking it to the streets, brought about that change. And it's one of the few concrete wins we've had against the war machine in the last years. On Monday, Julian's going to be speaking publicly for the first time since he was released. So, I think he's going to be saying, "I'm back, fuckers," which will be pretty cool. So we're all looking forward to that, and looking forward to having his voice back with us and hearing what he's got to say about what's going on right now. But his freedom didn't come without a price. He was convicted by the DOJ for communicating with a source and publishing the information that source provided, information in the public interest. The conviction under the Espionage Act goes directly in the face of the First Amendment in this country and opens up a perilous pathway for the DOJ to prosecute journalists and publishers who have the courage to tell the truth about war. That's why we are pushing for a full pardon for Julian, to send a real message to the DOJ that they have overstepped here and that they can't threaten the First Amendment like this, and to wind back the awful precedent that's been set. One of Julian's sayings that we should always carry with us in these repressive times is, if wars can be started by lies, then peace can be started by truth. By educating ourselves By educating ourselves with truthful information, we become empowered to question, to act, to protest, and to demand peace. And people coming together for peace is powerful. I can tell you a funny a family story of ours. Back in 1970, a man and a woman attended an anti-Vietnam War rally, two people coming together for peace. At this rally, these two people got together over their shared desire, their desire for peace. But the next year, Christine gave birth to Julian Assange, and the rest is history. So we may not witness the full scale of our action together today, but when we come together for peace, we can alter the course of history. So Roosevelt, back to old Teddy Roosevelt, called to dismantle the unholy alliance between corrupt business and corrupt politics, and has left to us to continue this call for proper statesmanship and to demand governance that prioritises peace. So I want to thank you everyone for coming today and standing with us to bring an end to conflict around the world. And please visit pardonassange.org to join our campaign to pardon Julian. And we're having a little party tonight at the 14th and V Street, Busboys and Poets. So come down to that tonight if you want to celebrate with us and celebrate Julian's freedom. So thanks everyone. Peace.